What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to my tiny garage. My name is Jared, and outside of my shop today we have a John Deere Gator in for some real problems. What got it here in my shop to begin with is it's having a starting issue. What seems to be happening is once the engine gets hot, the Gator doesn't want to restart again, and when it does, it wants to restart really hard. Now, it doesn't want to do it all the time, but that's primarily why it's here today. So apart from it having some issues starting, we also have some complaints about it not wanting to stay running. So once they would get it running, which sometimes would take quite a while, they would have trouble keeping it running. When you go to step on the brake, it would seem to want to die out, and they'd also have some issues with it accelerating under load and getting up to peak performance. And in their mind, it didn't seem like it was performing as well as it should. So I've done a little bit of testing here up to this point to kind of see a little bit, what I'm getting into and so on. And what I did find was an intermittent spark issue. What I found was that sometimes we had spark, sometimes we didn't. So that to me indicates a coil problem or a Magneto problem, but we're going to test that here in today's video. But what we have also discovered in our test driving of this thing to find that spark issue, we found that it has some real clutch issues. And by clutch issues, we are getting to the point where we will spin the belt 180 degrees one direction and flip it back around. To be honest, that's pretty scary when you're driving and you're not really sure what's going on there. So we're going to be testing out the clutch and doing a little bit of diagnostics there on that as well. So basically what we kind of have to go on here is we have a real bad noise on the clutch end. We might need to replace the clutches. I'm not really sure. We need to do some diagnostic and testing on those to see kind of what specs we're looking at. Also, we need to fix the engine issue, so we need to diagnose the spark problem, get it to start reliably, see if we can pick up a little bit of power, and we also need to fix probably the carburetor. I'm not sure if it needs cleaned. I'm not sure if it just needs tuned. Maybe it needs both. Not really sure. But basically, we need to go over this machine today, kind of figure out what items are bad, and get an estimate over to the customer to see about getting some parts on order. So, without any further ado, let's go ahead, raise this bed up, and get the back end jacked up here, and start our testing. Got our blocks up under the front wheels so the front end can't go anywhere. Let's go ahead and get this back end off the ground so you don't have to worry about this thing getting away on us. Pro tip when it comes to doing these blocks, if you have any old belts laying around, particularly old serpentine belts, they make really nice handles for these blocks. You can easily move them around with one hand. Then you don't have to get both hands in there on it. You can just grab it and go. So one of the very first things that I'm going to end up doing here is I'm going to end up trying to set the low end of the carburetor. I want to get the low idle set and kind of figure it out here a little bit. So according to service manual, which I do have for this one, I'm a little bit out of my element, to be fair. And not that I don't know how to work on the engine side of it, but the whole centrifugal clutches and all that, I'm just going to make sure I do this kind of by the book. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to follow John Deere's testing procedures and such. So I'm going to get my RPM gauge clipped on here, and we're going to let this thing warm up. It says about 5 minutes. It's about 90 degrees out here right now, so it shouldn't take very long to get up to temperature. But I'm just going to let this run and get it up to temperature, and then we'll go ahead and set the RPM then from here. So I'm just going to go ahead and start this up and let it run here for a little bit. You can see on a cold start it doesn't really want to stay running very well. Right now on cold, we're running 690, 680 on the RPMs. And I have to look at the direction or the manual there again, but I'm pretty sure it said 1100. I think was low speed. So yeah, we're no wonder it would want to stall out on the low side. Oh, yep, there you go. Right there we go. Okay, let's see if we can't keep this running here a little bit better. There you can probably start to hear some of that belt noise or that clutch noise I was talking about. It makes an awful racket back there. Yeah, we need to check into that for sure. Engine has been running here for just a few minutes, getting warmed up. Everything feels like it's pretty warm. So we have a low idle set screw here that has a limiter cap on it. So the way it wants you to do it is then it wants you to set the low idle by the actual governor screw. So we're going to go ahead and make that adjustment, and our RPM that we're looking for is 1,125 plus 75 for the margin of error. So somewhere between 11 and 1,200 is what I'm going to go for. And at the minute we're running at 910. So let's go ahead and up that just a little bit. I need a different screwdriver. Let's see if we can't get it here. There's 1,000. Get a shorter, stubby screwdriver. And now we're in business. Try to aim for somewhere in between, or maybe the high side, somewhere in there. Alright, I'm going to play with that jet mixture. Right now I have it lean. See kind of where it sounds the happiest. where it seems like it's happy. I think I might be pretty happy with that right there for now. How's our idle looking? We'll see once it stabilizes how it looks. Alright, yeah, it's sitting about, right about 1140, 1150. I think to start out with, I'm pretty happy with that. So let's just leave that there for now. And let's move on to the next step. And probably start testing out these clutches here a little bit. So I don't want to pull the coil off and do any testing on that because I need to run it in order to test these clutches. So let's go ahead and start testing some clutches out. And probably one of the very last things I'll do is pull that Magneto out of there and bench test that, because obviously, like I said, I need to run. So let's do some other testing here. Shut it down here for just a minute, and as we can see here already, this belt is now flipped around the incorrect direction just in that little bit of time running it. I'm going to go ahead and pull off this belt guard, because I would like to take the belt off and set the high speed on this thing. Get that kind of dialed in. And just to make sure I don't lose anything, we're just going to put this all back out where it came from. Our high side adjustment is up under this plate, so let's go ahead and pull this plate off of here. Like that, we got a 5/16 and a 1/2 inch up top, and then we got a little 10 millimeter on the side. How do you figure that one out? I don't know what to say about that. There we go. Little spacer there we don't lose. Yep, just like that. Got access to our cover, and our belt is off of there, so I don't have to worry about that flying off and hitting us. We can always reset this later, but I just kind of want to see what we're looking at here at the direct moment. So our high RPM per this serial number is to be 3750, 3750 plus 100. So we have 37 to 3850 to work with. So I'm probably going to stay on the 3700 side of things. So to set this, you basically start it up, you peg the throttle, and then we start adjusting here to our RPM gauge. So with no load on the engine, let's go ahead and get that started. So let's see if she starts up for us. A little rough on the startup, but she started. Looking good on the idle. We're at 1150, 1140, 1150, 1130, 20, 10. Alright, there it came down just a little bit. We can refine that later, but for now, let's get this high idle set. So again, we're looking for 3750 to 3850. So the way I'm going to do this, I'm going to try to sit this down right there. Hopefully it'll stay. I'm going to use my trusty broom handle. And we're going to peg this down on the throttle pedal, and make our adjustments. So here we go. Well, the high end of things look good. I don't really think that needs adjusted at all. I went right up there to within spec, so I'm happy with that. Looks like we're idling just a little bit high here again. Could be because we don't have a belt on there, so we'll just keep that in mind. We'll have to work around with that a little bit, but there we go. Now we're back within the spec. Okay. Well, that's looking good. How's this clutch looking over here? Got you a little bit of a better angle here. Hopefully you can see down in here to this clutch. I'm kind of questioning this clutch here just a little bit. You'll notice when I rev it up, it'll come together, which is what it's supposed to do, and then as soon as the RPMs dial up, the clutch is supposed to spread apart and slow your belt down. Doesn't really seem, it seems to be a little bit sticky. I'll show you what I mean. See, it's hanging up. It's not coming back apart. See? It's stuck. It should be opening back up. And our RPM, yeah, there, it just popped back open again. And our RPM is down where it should be. 1150, 1140. do that to test again. Taking a long time to open. 1180, 1170, there it pops, 1160. So I think that clutch is a little sticky. All right, let's consult the book here a little bit more and see what we need to test next. So we're going to test out this primary clutch. I think it's a little bit sticky is what it seems like to me. So if I'm kind of reading down through the checklist, it tells me that the... Alright, so just going through like this little system check. So it's the powertrain diagnostics is what's going on here. So it tells me the primary clutch disengaged. So this would be the primary clutch, this is your secondary clutch. So it's asking me, is the primary clutch disengaged and the belt is not moving? So as far as I'm aware, that belt is moving. Now, it tells me to test that, we want to set the brakes, and then we want to put the transmission in neutral and ensure the engine is at the correct speeds, which we've already done that. So, all right, so what we want to do is put the transmission in neutral, set the parking brake, and start it up, and we want to see if the belt moves. That's what we're after here. So let's go ahead and slam this belt back on. This belt back on here. Around this hot muffler should be, ouch, interesting. Okay. Do I have my arrows going the right way? Yes, I do. Okay. Alrighty. Get this all worked around here. There we go. Alright, there we go. Okay, so as best as I understand it, so parking brake on, parking brake's on, and our transmission is to be set in neutral, am I right? Let's see. Use my place. Transmission in neutral, brakes are set. Okay, parking brake is set. Our parking brake does work. I cannot move the rear wheels. And our transmission is in neutral. Okay. So we want to make sure, according to this, disengaged. We do not want the drive belt moving. All right, let's start it up and see what happens. Alright, well I would take that and say that the drive belt is indeed moving. So, according to that, it tells me either repair or replace the primary clutch. So the primary clutch is not supposed to be engaging until 1300 RPMs. It's supposed to let go at 1300. So right here, primary clutch engages drive belt at 1350 to 1600. And yeah, we're engaging right now at idle speed. Let's double check that. So our idle speed right now is under 1100. We're at 1080, 1070, so we're even lower than what we're supposed to be. And we're engaging are engaging the drive belt. Now, I've already made sure that our drive belt is the correct size it should be. So that does not seem to be the issue. It seems like our primary clutch is going to be the issue. We pretty much determined that we have an issue here with the front side. The book tells us that we could potentially lube the clutch. It may have some internal worn parts, or it just might need replaced altogether. So I feel like we definitely have a front clutch issue. Let's move on and test out the back clutch here just a little bit. There's a bunch of clanking going on around back in here, and I'm not quite sure how we're going to finally test that yet. I thought about putting a drill chuck around the belt and taking it off the primary and just using a drill to spin the back end and try to figure out where that clatter's coming from. But for the direct moment, let's perform the book tests here. So what we want to do is we want to check for shifting. So the back end here deals with shifting on loads. So what it tells me to do, put the transmission in neutral, which it is. Park brake set, we got that. And we want to slowly increase engine RPM. It tells me to observe engine RPM when clutch starts to engage and move the drive belt. Well, we already know that's already moving the drive belt, so that we don't really need to observe that. Yeah, right here, clutch should slowly start to engage and move drive belt between 1350 and 1600 RPM. If clutch has harsh engagement, erratic transition, hesitation, or clutch noise, prefer primary clutch lubrication. And so, yeah, we need to get into that then. So, all right, so the secondary here, what we do for that, raise the cargo bed, which we did. Indoor testing, all rear wheels off the ground machine, we got that. Front wheels chocked, we got that. Differential lock engaged. Okay. All right. So I have the diff lock engaged. Tachometer displaying engine speed. We are set with that. Okay. Directions here. Procedure. Start engine. Put transmission in gear. Operate the engine at wide open throttle. So it wants me to full send this thing. Momentarily load the powertrain by slowly applying the brake or parking brake until the back shift is made. So what it wants me to do, it wants me to make sure that this clutch is going to adjust to the load and slow down correctly and not squeal the belt, slip the belt, so on and so forth. It tells me if the engine speed drops below 2400 RPM or the clutches don't back shift, then we need to check on the clutch tension on the secondary clutch. So basically we're going to test the life and how good this clutch is. So let's go ahead and get this thing started back up. All right, so procedure, we're going to drop this thing into drive. Yeah, see that whole clunk thing? See, now it's not spinning, which is what we want. So what happens if I load it up right now? At what point does it want to start engaging that belt? Because it shouldn't start until... right about there. It's still trying to engage it there, see? See how it's jerking on it? It's not wanting to... Yeah, right there, see, it's not enjoying that very much. It's not really sliding smooth, so we definitely have a primary clutch issue here. Okay, so moving on to the secondary clutch. We'll get there. So secondary clutch, all right, so we're going to load it. So we're taking off the parking brake. We have freewheel spin. All right, it wants me to take it up to full throttle and then apply the parking brake, and it should downshift basically. Or if we see to 2400 RPM, that's not good. Or if the belt starts to squeal. So I'm gonna put this here, and we're gonna take her up to full beans, and we're gonna give it the brake and see what flies apart here. was anything but graceful. We'll just shut that thing down here. Okay, that was sketchy, and I didn't really like how that sounded. I am no expert, but that whole ruckus there, it didn't really seem to enjoy that a whole lot. So I would say we probably have some tension issues on that. Well, we can move on to torsion checking. So basically all we do to test that is we clamp a vice grip onto this, they call it a sheave, on this pulley, basically this clutch plate, and then we take a spring scale and we pull, and we want to see how much tension it has on it. And that's about as scientific as you can get there, I suppose. So let me track down those items, and we'll be back here in just a second and see what we can do about that. Pulled off our bed tilt cylinder and moved our bed back a little bit further so we have a little bit more access here. So what it wants to do is, you'll notice right here, this part of the clutch, you see how that moves? That's what we need to measure. That's the spring tension that the book is referring us to test. So the way it wants us to test it, so we put it back to where it stops. So we have the transmission in gear and we have the parking brake set. So next we're going to clamp on a vice grip. Not burning ourselves. Okay. Then it wants us to take a spring scale and pull at a 90-degree direction. And it wants us to pull this back until there's a ½ inch gap between these two blocks. I don't know if you can see that right there. When I pull that apart, there's stop blocks right there. It wants us to pull until there's a ½ inch, and then measure the force it takes until it gets almost set back to 0. So we'll get this on here like so. We're going to pull our best at a 90-degree angle. We're going to pull right there, about ½ inch. We're going to slowly let that back. Do that one more time here. I'm seeing about, just holding it there. A little hard, but about 11, 12 pounds. So what's our spec supposed to be here? So our spec is supposed to be between 9 and 13 pounds. So that is about dead in the center. So as far as I can say, it would seem to me to be pretty well dead on accurate. I would still like to know what all that nonsense noise is back here. Let me try to put the, I don't know how this is going to work, but let's try to isolate this clutch a little bit and just make sure it's not like a bearing axle or something back here. Let me stick this back in neutral and take the parking brake off of it. Stick this down in first. So we should be engaging. Oops. Our bumpers are hitting our tires here. Take out the differential lock in case that's making a noise. So you hear that? Let me put the belt on here. Let me put the belt on. And let's just try a drill. I don't know how well it's going to work, but something to get that spinning just a little bit faster would be nice. So we can kind of maybe figure out what we're hearing. Alright, let me go grab a drill. I'll be right back here. Engine spins that direction with the arrows. Got our drill going the same way. What happens here, I just have it in neutral right now. This might be kind of hard to do. This on a high speed. I don't really hear any noises doing that. Let's stick it in first gear and see if we hear any noises doing it that way. Oop. Yeah, let me get our tires are rubbing on our bumper here. Let me get the bed stuck back into place. Well, I don't hear any noise at all. I don't hear any noise at all coming from this back side. I don't know here if it's the back clutch or the front clutch. Might need to pull some things apart more to know for sure. Either way, I know we definitely have a problem with our front clutch. That's for sure. I guess the other thing it could be too is it could be our wear buttons causing a little bit of slop. They are pretty worn. Let's fire this thing back up and see if I can do any more. I'm not so sure and convinced, I'll be honest with you, that this back clutch is okay. I guess we're going to have to leave those clutches alone for the moment. I'm going to have to do some parts diagram searching and clutch options and kind of price this out and see what direction we want to go on those clutches. I was just looking at the hour meter on this machine, and it has, let me double check so I don't misspeak, I believe it was over 3,000 hours. Yeah, it has 3,709 hours exactly. So if this is the original clutch pack, it's probably time to be changed. If it's not, depending when they put them on here and how many hours, I mean, they're only good for so many hours, so we could just be looking at a clutch change, to be fair. Yeah, so I guess we're just gonna go ahead and move right into the airbox removal. Get this bed pin back out here and get this back. There we go. Perfect. Looks like the best way to go about this probably is to take the whole air box out of here. We're going to take this whole front cover off to get to that Magneto. So it looks like probably the governor assembly and all this stuff will have to come off of here. So yeah, fun times. Let's go ahead and get into it. Alright, after all that, we managed to get into our coil. So that is this apparatus right there. And the way this works is there's magnets on the flywheel that spin around, and they create a magnetic pulse or a field on this. And that is what creates your spark. So before I pop this off of here, I am just kind of curious. It's supposed to be 12-30 seconds air gap, which it is 12-30 seconds gap. So it's gapped correctly, so it's definitely not a gap issue. So let's go ahead and pull it off, and we'll do some bench testing on it. To see if it tests out correctly. There's no other safety switches on this besides the neutral safety switch, which that is very much working because this engine won't even crank over unless that neutral safety switch is touched. So I know for a fact it's not the safety switch. It could be the key grounding it out, but to be fair, with as many hours as on this thing, I don't believe that to be the case, and if it is, our bench test here is about to tell us just that. So that, according to my customer, the key switch that they put on it was just recently replaced, so by all records that should be a fairly newer key switch. Got our kill wire hung up somewhere here. Where does that go to? Okay, we got it. It's clamped in right here. And we got it clamped in over here. That's the other thing we want to check too, and make sure this kill wire isn't rubbed through and grounding out somewhere, which could be a scenario as well. I have some video on my cell phone that I took on it. I'll try to pop that in here for you guys. You'll be able to see in that video. It's not that we weren't getting any spark. We were getting some spark, but it wasn't hot. It wasn't hot enough to fire the engine off. It was acting like it was a very weak spark. I'm pretty sure this is going to end up being in our Magneto here, but we'll be testing it anyway just to make sure that is indeed the case. What kind of mess do we have going on here? We got quick connects, I guess. Yeah. Go. Hopefully it'll pull back through that factory hole. It should. There we go. Okay. Coil. Pull right on out of here. Alright, let's get it into our bench and see what it tests up to be. In here on our workbench, we have our coil. So let's go ahead and test this. I'm going to go ahead and pull apart what I can to help eliminate. Man, that wire's on there. To help eliminate what items I can. Man, of days. Alright, so first thing we want to do, go through and make sure we have a nice clean spot to test. So I'm going to go on our primary coil, get the rust and any enamel anti-rust stuff they got on there, and we're going to do the same here to the ground wire plug. Alright, got them clean. So we're going to test both the primary and the secondary windings. So to test the primary windings, that is going from this block to your ground wire lead. That is primary. That's the primary coil, is what they call that. The secondary, we go from this block to our output or our plug. That's our secondary. So what we have to work with is our allowances. Our primary coil resistance is anywhere between 0.6 to 1.1 ohms, and our secondary is anywhere from 6 to 10 ohms. So to test our primary, turn our multimeter as low as we can get it. So we're going to go to 200. Take our ground to our ground. Not that it really matters, but we're just going to do it that way. Ground to ground. We're going to take this to our primary. Get my wires flipped around here. There we go. Boom, boom. What do we got? Got a 0.9. A 0.9. So, alright, so our spec is 0.67 to 1.110. There's a 0.8. Okay, so we are well within spec. So primary coil is perfectly good. Now to test our secondary, we have to go up a little bit higher on our mark. So we want to go to kilo ohms. So we're going to go to 20 kilo ohms. We're going to take our one end and we're going to stick that in and touch the metal where it would clip onto the spark plug. And take our other end and touch it to our armature. Oh my goodness. There we go. Check that out. So that is 13.48 kilo ohms, which means that that is 13,480 ohms. So our limit is 6 to 10. So we are way over spec by a lot. So right there, that would indicate to me that our secondary coil windings on this Magneto are in fact junk. Well, I would say we found our smoking gun, as they were to say. That coil most definitely tested bad, and would certainly say that that would cause a hard start issue, a no start issue when it gets hot, and just overall around problems. As a matter of fact, when they were complaining about not having enough power at the top end, or feeling like it's sluggish and slow, that very well could be to weak spark. If you're not having a hot spark, it doesn't cause good combustion, and that of course will give you a lack of power. So I would want to 100% say that theory all aligns up there. A lot of these problems should probably go away with a better Magneto and a hotter spark. I guess moving forward from here, I'm not entirely sure about these clutches. The second one seems to test okay, but to me it sounds like it's making an awful lot of noise, so I don't know. We need to check into a little bit more. Price out internal parts, rebuilding it, new springs and everything. Or if it's just going to be better just to get the whole new assembly and be done with it. I'm not really sure which, but either way, it definitely had some clutch issues. Need a new drive belt, new Magneto. The key switch seems to be okay. It sticks a little bit, but a little more cosmetic than actual probably causing any problems here for us that I'm aware of right now. Carburetor, thinking about rebuilding that. Might as well while we're here. It looks pretty dirty. Wouldn't take long to send it through the ultrasonic. If we wanted to be sure that this thing was in pristine condition, and as far as that goes, probably wouldn't be a bad idea to do that. So I will probably give them a quote on that as well, and we'll kind of see what all they want to do and where they want to go from here. But that's where we're at, so I just need to work up an estimate, and we'll come around for part 2 and hopefully wrap this thing up and hopefully get it back to running and operating condition again as it should be. So that's all I got for this video. I appreciate you guys stopping by to watch. Hopefully you learned something. If not, hopefully you at least found it entertaining or useful. Drop a comment down below. Let me know what you thought. If you're not subscribed and you like this kind of content, make sure you are subscribed so you don't miss part 2 and any kind of future videos that we have. Of course, we've got plenty more in the books to come. There's never a shortage of work to do. Things always break and we always fix them. So make sure you subscribe so you don't miss any more of those videos. Hit that like button. It does help out the channel. With that all being said, I am off to work up this estimate, so we will catch you guys in the next one.